Born in Chateau Payns, Hugh of Payns was one of many knights that served under Godfrey of Bouillon during the First Crusade, though little did he or his peers know that he would soon change the image of knights forever. In his time in the Holy Land, Hugh saw the many flaws it had. He witnessed the sights and dangers of the region, and rather than go back home and risk his life sailing in pirate-infested waters, he would dedicate his time supporting the Franks in Jerusalem. He planned first to serve in the royal army, and then to retire from the hard, bitter life on the front line to become a monk. Hugh was not alone in making this decision. There were other men of the knightly sort in the city of Jerusalem at the time, and they began to cluster together at the most obvious spots for tourists and newcomers of all backgrounds and nationalities to meet: the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Though the knights were properly trained and in no way amateurs, they had an unreasonable amount of boredom, with the hardest task having to defend churches and shrines from bandits. They had sworn oaths of obedience to God, but prior to the Holy Sepulchre, on whose patronage and hospitality they depended for their day-to-day livelihood, they were not, strictly speaking, clergymen, but rather able-bodied warrior pilgrims who could fight and who had to make a significant decision to live a life of penitence, poverty, obedience, and duty beyond the normal vows of a crusader. Eventually, the knights felt like they were being underused and underappreciated. Hugh of Payns and his soldiers were said to do nothing about drinking, eating, and wasting all their time, not doing anything with their talents. Hugh finally had enough of the boredom and decided to create a new independent order with the soldiers he had. The crown would assist with the means of their upkeep, but their main task would be one of equal interest to the king, patriarch, and even other Christian visitors in the Holy Land. They would be responsible for the defense of Jerusalem and protection of pilgrims. They would be bodyguards, paupers, and a brotherhood devoted only to arms and prayer. These were the men who would become the first Knights Templar. By 1126, Hugh was able to build a monastery in Clairvaux with the great help of Bernard of Clairvaux, who, along with Hugh, would be the first founding fathers of the Knights Templar. Later that year, Bernard received a letter from King Baldwin requesting his help, and Bernard sent Hugh of Payns to see how he could be of service. Hugh of Payns was sent west with a clear mission to whip up support from the Kingdom of the East. He traveled to the Holy Land alongside several high-profile ambassadors such as William of Bourges. During this time, Hugh would meet and recruit more of the first Templar knights. Back in Jerusalem, Baldwin II was planning a major assault on Damascus, aiming to parlay a period of raiding that had begun in 1125 into a full-campaign conquest. His hope was to seize the city from the Turkish leader who ruled there. He realized that he needed experienced soldiers for this raid, and Hugh's Templars matched the description well. Between October 1127 and 1129, Hugh of Payns and his companions met two successive Counts of Flanders, visited Fulk, Count of Anjou, and secured his agreement to help in the Damascus campaign, and even tracked down King Henry of England to raise more funds for his order. Their encounter was recorded in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Hugh of the Knights Templar came into Jerusalem to the king in Normandy, and the king received him with great ceremony, and gave him great treasures of gold and silver, and sent him thereafter to England, where he welcomed by all good men. Hugh himself wrote that the mission persuaded more people to go east and fight than ever before since the time of the First Crusade. This was quite an achievement, as Hugh of Payns and his Templars were, in effect, preaching a crusade all of their own. Although the Templars still did not get approval from the Pope, the mission was still a success, as it gave the Crusader armies more reinforcements than ever before. As Hugh prepared for the attack on Damascus, he also had plans of expanding the reach, wealth, and membership of the Templars. Working through family networks and social ties, particularly around his home region of Champagne, he secured gifts of land, income from property, rights to feudal payments, gold, silver, and perhaps, more valuable than anything else, promises of personal service. Dozens vowed that they would travel to the Holy Land and join the Order, either temporarily or for life. As time went on, the Templar rule would expand to a formidable length and complexity, adapting and developing as the Order grew and changed. With this, Hugh had achieved one of his principal goals in traveling to Europe. He had given his organization a structure and a code of conduct by which to live. His next task was to make the Knights Templar famous and to persuade the brothers themselves that they were doing the Lord's work. An interesting fact of Hugh of Payns is that he would write letters calling him Hugh the Sinner, though this isn't truly confirmed that they were the same person, but Hugh the Sinner showed as much passion as Hugh of Payns in his letter. In his letter, he implored his audience to one simple mission: to fight and win for the sake of Jesus Christ. After Baldwin's victorious attack on Damascus with the help of Hugh's Templars, the Knights Templar officially became recognized as a successful order that welcomed anyone with a warrior spirit and would fight for the glory of God. With the establishment of Templars under Hugh of Payns, a formal crusading institution had been created, which gave lasting expression to the urges of young warriors to fight in the Holy War, and eventually Templar castles and watchtowers would be planted all over Crusader states. On May 24th, 1136, Hugh of Payns passed away, though there are no sources that explain how he passed. Whatever the case may be, the most impressive part about Hugh is that his order outlived him without crisis. The future of how a Grand Master was selected would be through election, and Hugh's successor would be Robert Burgundio. And that was the story of Hugh of Payns, a man who would create one of the most notorious order of knights and would practically save knighthood for the rest of medieval times. Thank you for watching this video and supporting my love for history, and I'll see you on the next one.